Hi, my name is Brett Hoffmeister. I'm the LAL Production Manager at Associates of Cape Cod, based in Falmouth, Massachusetts. I'm here today to talk to you about an exciting new sustainability project and a little bit about conservation of horseshoe crabs. There's a lot of fallacies out there. There's a lot of concern about horseshoe crab populations and conservation, and we're going to talk about that today. Number one, you should know that female crabs from the Delaware Bay region are not used by our company. Therefore, our products are red knot safe. We don't use females from the Delaware Bay region specifically, but the vast majority of our crabs come from Massachusetts waters. Since the beginning, ACC has participated in a catch and release fishery. It's something we encourage. But that said, in the year 2000, we were encouraged by the state of Massachusetts and the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission to take part in what's called the Renick crab program. And since the year 2000, we do use some crabs that are coming from the bait market. There's about 1 million crabs annually along the East Coast that are sacrificed for the eel and conch fishery. And what we're able to do is utilize some of those crabs from the fishery to come into our plant. We take blood from them to manufacture our products and return them to the fishermen themselves. Again, this is endorsed by the state of Massachusetts and the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission. ACC was instrumental in imposing a size limit that has now been adopted by the state of Massachusetts and Rhode Island. It's now part of their regulations. We were also instrumental in closing Pleasant Bay, a beautiful area of Cape Cod where no bait fishing is allowed for horseshoe crabs. We can take crabs out of there for BioMedical harvest, but again, we close that or help close that to the bait market. Massachusetts itself has other regulations to help protect spawning stocks of horseshoe crabs as well as the population as a whole. And I'm happy to say that the population of Massachusetts is doing very well. A lot of these conservation efforts are paying dividends. For instance, here we have some data from the spring and fall trawl surveys. This is something the state's been doing for over 40 years. And the past 5 or 6 years, we're seeing increases in numbers that they haven't seen in the entire 40-year time series, which is really good news for the horseshoe crabs. We're seeing that in both male and female populations. And again, it's been consistent for the past 5 or 6 years. Very good news for the fishery in Massachusetts. Now, the project objective itself is aimed at complementing our 45-year history of horseshoe crab conservation. The project serves to enhance the horseshoe crab population by collecting gametes from male and female crabs and fertilizing them in vitro, and then eventually releasing juvenile crabs back into the wild. The program utilizes gametes only from the bait crabs that come into our plant. So we're giving these crabs one more chance to spawn and reproduce. Research efforts were focused in 2017, where we did a kind of proof of concept, and in 2018, we did our first releases of horseshoe crabs into the wild. ACC is a recipient of a first of its kind and one of a kind aquaculture permit in Massachusetts, and we work with the state and they help identify embayments. We release these crabs and hopefully they'll grow up into adults. Quick rundown of the program is just this. We collect the gametes from the males and females, fertilize them, wash them, and we've got an interesting picture right here. In time, these crab eggs will start to swell up as the larvae develop. The technicians monitor these on a daily basis, make sure that we keep good water quality and monitor the progress of the crabs. So in a few weeks, you'll see these eggs develop. They'll shed their outer shell, and what you end up with is basically a little crystal ball with a beautiful crab inside of it. You can see the crabs moving around. It's really quite fascinating. So in about another 2 weeks, the larvae will burst from this shell, and you'll have what we call the first Instar trilobite horseshoe crabs. These are just small crabs. They're swimming around in the water column, very active, and it's something that you might see if you're lucky in the spring. So the horseshoe crabs grow by shedding their shells. They're going to molt into the second Instar, and at this point they now have fully functioning mouth parts. They've got a telson, and they become benthic. They spend less time swimming in the water column and more time on the ocean bottom where they can feed and bury in the sand to protect themselves. And it's at this point that we release the crabs in large numbers, hoping that again they'll grow into adults at some point. In 2019, I'm very pleased to say that we released over 250,000 juvenile horseshoe crabs. We've ceased operations in and around August, and we're looking forward to it picking up again in the spring next year of 2020 and releasing hopefully more than 250,000 one more time. The project has been very successful, and we've decided to share our success in Asia, where the Asian horseshoe crabs are in trouble. You should know that ACC does not use any of the Asian horseshoe crabs. There's 3 different species. Tachypleus tridentis has just recently been listed as endangered by the IUCN. The IUCN hosted the 4th International Workshop on the Science and Conservation of Horseshoe Crabs back in June. It's in a university right outside of Baha'i. And we were in attendance for the sole purpose of trying to find universities or organizations that might be interested in sharing the technology that we have with them. We have identified 3 grant recipients who will receive a palletized aquaculture system from Associates of Cape Cod, and we'll provide them with technical assistance as we're able so that they can do the same thing and introduce some juvenile crabs to the Asian waters with the hopes of seeing some recovery of that endangered species. So in conclusion, you should know that Associates of Cape Cod has always and will always deeply care for the resource in which we rely on for our products. ACC's Horseshoe Crab Sustainability Project is the newest addition to our decades-long and ongoing conservation efforts. The system can produce tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of crabs in a season. To date, over 290,000 crabs have been released since inception of this project in 2018. The program will help ensure a stable population of horseshoe crabs and, equally important, ensure that there's good genetic diversity. Thank you very much.